Thanks for staying with us. Now, following a fight that broke out at the Effingham Secondary School in Durban on Friday between security officers and pupils, the KZN Education Department has launched an investigation into the matter. During the chaos, one security officer pointed a firearm at a pupil. For more details, we are joined by Sadtu KZN Provincial Secretary Nomarashiya Caluza. She joins us now. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. Just maybe first of all, speak to us about your understanding of what actually happened at Effingham School.
Yes, thank you for having us. It's a situation that is always there in schools where you find bullying, violence in our schools, and sometimes teachers with learners. This is what we've been experiencing. But for the first time, we see an involvement of the security guard or security personnel in this. But most of the time, you find that there's a fight between learners, and then as adults, teachers and the other workers in the school will be found there trying to deal with the fight and trying to separate the learners. So it's something that is always there, as we say, as Sadtu. There's violence in our schools which must be dealt with. Same thing in Effingham. What is unfortunate is the situation as it unfolded, where a security guard pointed a gun to a learner, and as we know, our schools are gun-free zones.
I mean, that video was shocking. It was truly concerning to see that that pupil had been handled in such a manner. We do understand that according to the MEC for Education in the province, there is currently an investigation that is underway. As Sadtu, are you part of this discussion? Are you allowed to be part of the discussions to truly understand what happened and part of this investigation?
We understand that we, as a union, we can't be part of the investigation, but in terms of the discussions, we are part, engaging with the department through our campaign, I Am a School Friend, and that there must be mobilization of the society in support of our schools, but most importantly, the engagements and the discussions within schools, so that everyone, including the security guard at the gate, understands that our schools must be safe havens for teaching and learning. And if there are misunderstandings that are there, we have to find ways of engaging with learners without fighting with them. It's even worse, I want to repeat this one of the gun, because each school in KZN has a board when you enter, which indicates that the guns are not allowed. So, and we also understand that security guards, that is why we always complain, security guards also don't have guns in KZN. So it's not understandable how this one had a gun in an environment or a school setting where there are learners, there are teachers and parents who always visit the school. It's clear that if that is the case, we are all not safe in such schools, and that is why this issue must be taken with the seriousness it deserves, and we welcome investigation. But unlike other investigations, we want to see the department concluding the investigation timely so that we know, and the investigation must go to an extent of checking what is happening in other schools, because you'll find that it's not only Effingham. There are other schools where you have some people with guns that they are carrying, and that poses danger or a threat to the learners as well as other workers in the schools, including teachers.
Certainly, I think it definitely raises a concerning picture. You've touched on it slightly, but you know, when you think of a school, you think it's the safest place. You think you leave your children there, they are safe, nothing is going to happen. And then you have these massive guns by security guards being pointed at pupils. Surely this should raise a broader conversation about the state of our schools and how necessary it is to have such heavily armed security present at schools, despite the fact that we know violence sometimes breaks out and pupils fight amongst each other. There are guns, there are knives, scissors are sometimes used. It becomes very dangerous, but surely a different conversation needs to be had so that when pupils are at school, it's not this situation.
You are correct, because you know what is happening in other parts of the world, like US, where you just hear that someone just pointed a gun and so many learners passed on or were killed, and teachers. We don't want that to happen. That is why, as such, we have always maintained that we don't want our schools to be we don't want our security guards to have guns, because our schools must be safe havens, and engagement or discussions must take place to ensure that our schools are safe, to ensure that teaching and learning can take place without being intimidated by guns. Even if it's a teacher, we don't want anyone with a gun. The security guard must just do his or her work without having a gun. That is why we always say the community is very central in this issue of ensuring that there's security as well as discipline among learners, to ensure that we don't have this bullying, we don't have violence in our schools from the side of the learners. But that does not warrant that security guards must have guns in schools. It's a danger. It's very dangerous.
Yes, certainly. I mean, that video was shocking. I couldn't believe it when it started circulating on social media. Just lastly, I just want to ask you, in terms of any schools that you know have been affected due to the recent floods now in the last 24 to 48 hours in KwaZulu-Natal. I do understand that KZN MEC for Education has just released a notice to say SGB's schools should think twice perhaps about sending pupils to schools if that school has been affected. From your understanding on the ground, is the situation quite dire, especially at schools?
Yes, even though we're still collecting information with regard to specifics, but the rains were heavy, and of course there are schools that are affected, and we welcome this view of the department, the MEC and HOD, to give power to school governing bodies and school management teams so that they can use their discretion based on the assessment and indicate whether learners must come to school or not. It's very important, because those are the people who are closest to the schools. But it's an unfortunate one to happen again, understanding that we are coming from the floods of April that affected many schools, and some of those schools have not been sorted in terms of their infrastructure being attended and the access roads, and now this one that has happened as we have indicated. But we'll continue making assessment and engaging the department on the matter. I said we are still collecting information using our structures that are closer to schools.
Certainly, it's a very sad situation. Thank you so much for your insights, and we'll definitely be checking in. That was Sadtu, KZN Provincial Secretary, Nomarashiya, Caluza.